Today, I'm going to be taking one slime and turning it into as many as I can. Let's see what we can do. So, this is the slime we're going to be using. It's just a basic clear slime that I made specifically for this video. It's quite thick and it's got a nice texture, so I'm interested to see how this is going to react with all the different ingredients, because the starting point is actually quite nice. Now, as much as I'd love to use the entire slime, I'm only actually using a small chunk of it, because if I'm trying to make as many slimes as I can out of this one, I can't use too much each time I make a new slime. This small ball of slime is just not big enough, so my first idea was to add water to try and increase the size of it as much as I can. This actually took me over 30 minutes to try and mix in, which is fine. I do it for the video, but it did take a while. Now this step was done, I needed to activate this somehow, and I know that regular activator wouldn't have worked. To make something a little bit stronger, I needed to use some baking soda. For some reason, and I'm not entirely sure of the scientific reason why, but when you add baking soda and regular activator together, it just seems to activate the slime better, especially if it's watery. I found it really hard to tell if this was actually working or not because I was just using clear slime and water, but when I put my hand in, I could definitely feel the chunks of glue at the bottom that had formed a kind of jelly-like slime, but I ended up just adding some more activator and mixing it together so they would form. I was honestly a little bit concerned about how this was mixing, but to be honest, after I went in with my hands, it really started forming together pretty quickly. After a little bit more mixing, the slime had definitely formed. It was super jiggly and not super stretchy, but that's kind of expected with a water slime. I split this in two because I wanted to dye one side pink and one side blue, so added this super neon dye to give it a really bright and lovely color. And yes, I do know I dye a lot of the slimes I make pink, but it's one of my favorite colors, so you guys can leave me alone in the comments. Now the slime's been dyed, I wanted to put it into a container so that they could kind of ombre together and create a really pretty sunset kind of vibe slime. Well, maybe not sunset considering I've never seen a pink and blue sunset, but just a pretty ombre slime. I ended up leaving this for just over a day because I didn't want it to blend too much, and I was so pleased with the result. The color was absolutely beautiful, it was so vibrant, and they kind of blended in the middle to make this purple neon color. Now, the texture of this, you've already seen. It's not amazing, but it's a water slime, so it's not actually really ever gonna be that stretchy, but it still was really fun to play with, and because it was so pretty, it was even more fun to mix the colors together and just poke and play with it and make ASMR. Water slimes are really good for ASMR, but not so great for stretching. In fact, it was so good at not stretching that when you stretched it, it didn't actually stick back to itself again until you left it for a little while. Maybe I was playing with it too rough because I was able to stretch it when I pulled with it really gently, but I don't know. Maybe I'm too impatient for water slime. I still had fun and it was super satisfying to just squish like this and kind of felt like an Orby that had broken. Okay, moving on to the next slime. Again, I'm gonna take a chunk of the clear slime, not too much, but also enough so I can make something good. Again, I need to make this bigger, so I'm adding instant snow and water, and I'm gonna attempt to make an icy slime. To be honest, I was a little bit worried I'd added too much instant snow, because there is a lot more snow than there is slime, but I added some purple dye to it so I could kind of see the slime better, because before I had trouble even seeing the slime mix, and having the purple just made it look nicer too. At this point, I really was considering giving up and not doing this video because I did not think it would work. And to be honest, it kind of was working, but not really turning it into an icy slime. It was kind of like a super dry cloud slime. So I went ahead and added some more water. And this is when I was like, yeah, this is not gonna work. However, I just kept mixing it and it eventually started to stick together. I kind of clumped it into a ball and just like mashed it on the table for ages until the slime kind of started to form. I could have stopped here, to be honest, but it just was so tough and so not stretchy that whenever I'd even pull it slowly or gently, it just ripped and it just didn't feel nice. It kind of felt like bread dough, where it's like soft and squishy, but just not stretchy like slime. So I popped it back into a bowl and added some more water to it, just to try and soften the texture up a little bit. This was another point where I felt like giving up because I really did not think it was gonna mix in or work at all, but it actually turned this into one of the softest icy slimes I've ever felt. It was so smooth and kind of like a butter slime. It had a really really unique texture. It was definitely wet and watery, but I'd take that over a dry, icy slime that just didn't stretch, because this was super smooth and fluffy. I put some of it into a fresh container and swirled it on top, and decided that the purple was kind of perfect for a Halloween slime, considering Halloween is coming up at the time of posting this video at least. I topped it with some sprinkles, but I just really wasn't that content with it, and I felt like the slime looked quite empty, so I found these spider charms and just put them all on top of the slime. These looked a little bit strange on their own, so I thought, okay, let me just go crazy with the Halloween charms, and I just added a ton of them just on top of it. It did look a little crazy, but I was really digging this look of just like Halloween everything in one slime, and I just overall really love this slime. And after all of the hard work with the texture, I'm so impressed with how it turned out. As I said, it's definitely wet, and I wouldn't be impressed if I bought this, but considering it was made from a tiny little chunk of slime, I'm pretty happy with the result. Halloween is also one of my favorite times of the year, so maybe I'm a little biased, but if you celebrate Halloween, let me know in the comments below what you're going as this year and what your favorite thing about Halloween is. For me, it's definitely the candy. Next up, of course, we're using the same slime, and I'm just going to take a similar sized chunk from this one and put it in a different bowl. This clear slime is super thick, but I actually kind of want to soften this up a little bit, so I'm going to add some clay to this one. I mixed in this whole block of clay. Because the clear slime is quite thick already, it was a little bit hard to mix it into the clay, but eventually it became super smooth and honestly a little bit sticky, but it was okay because it still felt really nice and creamy and kind of like a really thick and dense butter slime. Now, this wasn't very big, and I didn't really know what to add to it to make it bigger because I didn't want to ruin the smooth texture, and I also didn't really want to add more instant snow because I felt like I just used a ton in the previous slime. Instead, I kind of made a compromise, so I ended up adding some of the leftover slime from the previous slime that we just made to kind of make a super smooth cloud cream slime. Technically, it does have instant snow in, but it just means that I didn't have to do all of that mixing, and it was kind of ready done for me. The texture was just super smooth, fluffy, and light, and it just felt really nice and airy. Now, it was a slight purple color from the previous slime that we mixed in, but I ended up splitting it in two and dyeing one side blue and then the other side green. I just wanted to switch things up a little bit, and I feel like we've done a lot of pink and purpley slimes on this channel, and I don't know if I've done this color combination before. You might notice that the slimes look like they get a little bit grainy, but that's only because I added a little bit of activator because they were getting a tiny bit sticky. Of course, I put these back together and put it into a container to swirl, and the color combination was just so beautiful. It kind of reminded me of like planet Earth with like the water and the grass, so I felt this astronaut charm was fitting, along with these like random sprinkles I just wanted to add just to like liven things up a little bit. These colors together just looked amazing, and it was so fun to swirl them together and kind of see what color it would turn into. I was honestly expecting more of a turquoise color, but it actually went really green, and it was just so pretty, and as you can see, just so fluffy, light and airy. And again, I would probably call this one a success, and probably my favorite to make because it was the easiest. On to the next slime. We only have a little bit left, so I'm just going to use all of this, and let's call this the final slime. We've already used instant snow, but I haven't used any of the fake plastic snow yet, so I decided to add like a cup or two of this because I thought it might go into the slime easily and again be like another easy slime transformation. And that's when we ran into our first problem. Because the clear slime was so thick and just like not sticky at all, the snow really wasn't going into it very easily, so I ended up using a little bit of the leftover Daiso clay and just mixing it with the base of the slime just to hopefully make it a little bit more sticky and so that the snow would go into it easier. Luckily this worked, and the snow just absorbed right into it after that, and it actually kind of improved the texture slightly because sometimes plastic snow can be a little bit harsh on your hands, but the clay just made it feel a little bit softer. I wanted to marble the color of this slime, so I just took a little ball of the slime and dyed it blue to then just stretch and mix into the majority of the white slime. I did this by just twisting and mixing it and then just putting it into a container and swirling it even more just for a little bit more of a dramatic swirl on top. I was going to use a penguin charm, but we have already done one of those on this channel, so I found this adorable polar bear in like a little jumper and hat charm and topped it with some other cute purpley blue sprinkles that I just felt went with the slime. Again, like the previous slime, this was a lot easier to make, and also like the other slime again, mixing the colors together is just so satisfying, especially with the plastic snow. You can kind of see it stretch and marble more, so it's definitely another favorite of mine. Plus, I really love that polar bear charm. I had so much fun transforming these slimes, and I really can't believe how we were able to turn one slime into 4 different types. Now, some of them might not have been perfect, but I still had a whole lot of fun while doing it, and I want to know which one was your favorite. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more uploads from me in the future, make sure to hit subscribe. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.